What I want the people of Louisiana to know is that you're not alone on this. Even after the TV cameras leave, the whole country is going to continue to support you and help you until we get folks back in their homes and lives are rebuilt.
Folks, President Barack Obama yesterday speaking in Baton Rouge after meeting with several flood victims and surveying areas hit hardest by flood waters. 13 folks have died in the floods, more than 100,000+ homes damaged. Now, the government initial report from the state said some 60,000, but of course we had General Russel Honoré on. We'll have him on in just a few minutes. He said that number has now exceeded 120,000. Now, the president's visit comes as many criticized him for not visiting the area sooner. But the president made it clear he understands the breadth of the devastation.
People's lives have been upended by this flood. Local businesses have suffered some terrible damage. Families have, in some cases, lost homes. They've certainly lost possessions, priceless keepsakes. I was just speaking to a young woman whose husband died shortly after the birth of her second child, and she was talking about how her daughter was trying to gather all the keepsakes that she had in her bedroom that reminded her of her father. And that gives you some sense that this is not just about property damage. This is about people's roots.
President Obama also spoke about the value of those who work on behalf of federal agencies in times of crisis and national disasters.
The one thing I just want to repeat is how proud I am of FEMA, because if you think about the number of significant natural disasters that have occurred since my presidency began, you'd be hard-pressed to find a local official anywhere in the country, including those in the other party, who wouldn't say that Craig Fugate and his team have been anything less than exemplary and professional. And one of the things I did when I walked through each of these homes was ask, have you contacted FEMA? Have you filed? And uniformly they said that they had been in touch with FEMA. They had acted professionally. Some of them had already been out here for inspections. And I think that does indicate why it's important for us to take the federal government seriously, federal workers seriously. There's a tendency sometimes for us to bash them and to think that they're these faceless bureaucrats. But when you get into trouble, you want somebody who knows what they're doing, who's on the ground, working with outstanding officials, and that's true whatever party.
For the last several days, reporter Michelle McCallum has been in Baton Rouge reporting on what is going on there. She joins us right now. Michelle, you being surveying the damage, seeing what takes place, give us a sense of what national folks have not seen or heard about Baton Rouge.
Good morning, Roland. It's really bad here. You go through neighborhoods, as you're going through neighborhoods here, every house has its possessions on the curb. 16 years of possessions, 30 years of possessions. People have to get rid of everything and clean out their house. So personally, I haven't been affected, but I've been helping my family and friends pull out carpet, insulation, drywall, clothes, shoes, literally everything. And it's very difficult for people to see their lives on the curb. And so there's been a lot of tears, a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen. Schools are closed. And so there's just an uncertainty here. But the good news is that, we're resilient people and we'll get through this, but it is devastating.
And so obviously you have two roles. One is a reporter and somebody who's being directly impacted by this. One of the things that we heard yesterday from General Honoré, I'll talk to him in just 1 second, is that the area does not have enough hotel rooms to accommodate people who have been displaced. And then also some people are still having to go to work. How are people managing that, having to go to work, and then you're trying to come home and also work there, trying to salvage what was destroyed?
Well, they're trying to rely on family and friends to, put them up, and they're trying to find rental properties. Rental properties were shortage in supply before, and now it's even more so. And so that's the anxiety that I'm talking about. People are staying with relatives now, but they want a more permanent place to stay when the kids start going back to school. And it's a real sense of, what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to live the next 3 months when our house is just a shell?
In terms of support from the state, what have they provided thus far? What has FEMA provided thus far?
The response has been great, really, here. And that's why residents here didn't care if the president didn't come last week, because they were just glad that he was here yesterday. But the response has been immediate. FEMA people immediately were able to register. They've seen their FEMA contractors come out. You know, they've gotten state support. They have recovery centers open for people who don't have computers at home. And so the response here, and that's the one good thing also, has been great. And we really do feel like we are getting the state and federal support that we need to get through this. But it's a long, long recovery process, because every neighborhood has been affected.
Do you, for your assessment of the president's visit, do you believe that he should have come sooner, or do you believe what the governor said is the president needed to wait to allow waters to recede so search and rescue could continue?
I agree with the governor, and most people here agree with the governor, that we didn't need him to come. He didn't have to shorten his vacation for us. In fact, one resident said, let him stay on vacation, let him finish his vacation. He needs that. But, you know, whenever the president comes, we're happy to have him. And like I said before, he sent the things that we needed immediately. We saw immediate FEMA response. We saw immediate state response. So we were getting what we needed, and we knew that the president had a hand in that. The FEMA representative was here. The Secretary of Homeland Security was here. So we felt his presence, even though he wasn't here physically. All
right, Michelle McCallum, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roland.
We now want to go to retired Lieutenant General Russel Honoré, of course, one of our foremost experts on disaster. You might remember him for his work with Hurricane Katrina, trying to get that place all together. General Honoré, your assessment of the president, his visit yesterday to Baton Rouge.
I think it was a great visit. He came at a time when he could get out in the street and see people and see the aftermath of the clear out. If you come too early, you would not see all those possessions on the street, Roland. I think that's important for our national leaders. As you know, this storm opened in a way with a lot of competition from the Olympics, and it wasn't a named storm. We wrestled with that for a bit, and it slow rolled us on about 4 different days. We were still rescuing people. So I think the timing was just about right. I am a firm believer that we should not have presidents busy doing search and rescue. But Roland, the problem it highlights also is that we're in a different world from Katrina. You know, Twitter wasn't born during Katrina. We were just getting used to text, and Facebook was born sometime later. I'm a volunteer with the Red Cross. I'm telling you, people will fire you up on social media if they feel they're not getting what they need. And I think social media has made local governments better. As opposed to being isolated and not being able to communicate, everybody can communicate now. And that holds all us to a higher standard. And I think that had a lot to do also with the government getting good assessment of what was going on in different communities from social media. Although we had a big letdown from AT&T. They let us down during Katrina, and they've let us down during this storm too.
So General, there's always a question of next steps. And so when you talk about what now, president now leaves, you still are having to deal with people who've been displaced. The state is still sticking to this 60,000 number. You keep saying that number is far higher.
Yes. Matter of fact, the report came out yesterday. We have asked the media for help in helping us sorting that out, but the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, along with some number crunchers, have validated that number as well above 110,000 homes, as well as close now to normal, more to 12,000 businesses that were wet. All those businesses now have their stuff on the street, and they're not serving the community. So it's having a cascading effect. Over 70% of those businesses did not have insurance. So we're going to need some special adjustments to the Stafford Act to get those businesses open. As it is now, Martin, a very important point for people in Washington to remember, over 40% of small businesses fail after a disaster like this. Over 40% within 2 years are failed as a result of a natural disaster.
So, and so part of that problem is that here you had a small business, you were going well, or you were making through.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, you know, now you're dealing with higher costs. Now you're dealing with having to replace all this equipment. And what the average person doesn't realize is that your insurance won't necessarily cover all of those things. And so you now have folks who may not be in business. That means the people who work there are not going to have jobs. That means they now can't have money to replace their items.
Absolutely. And one of the things we learned after Katrina too, Martin, is that the government have a tendency to want to do business with big companies, and the local people don't get to participate in the recovery. So we're hoping that our state officials will try and put local people to work to clean schools. But I'm telling you, we might be already going down the wrong path. Everybody in America should have a shot at this work, and we should do it as quick as we can. But if we do it too quick, we'll bring all of the outside resources in, and our local people who can't work at these businesses will not get a shot at these jobs.
General Russel Honoré, what do you want our audience to do? Red Cross is saying that donations are down. To your point, by not naming it, basically folks just said that's just some water down there. We got about 30 seconds. What do you want our audience to do?
That there's a lot of pain. We're the second poorest state in America. We're inside the chemical corridor. Much of this area has a large pockets of poor people. We need the American people help. We need the world's help to try and get these people back in their homes and get these small businesses open. So monetary donations now will make the difference. Thank you, Roland.
General Russel Honoré, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. News 1 Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.